Right, so we're looking at learning outcome 2. We should be able to design systems and plans for initiating, managing, and controlling a project. Right, as I said last lecture, a project is not like a business. For a business, it is run indefinitely. You have a business, you run it, you pass it on to your children, and if it works very well, your grandchildren will enjoy and then come into the same business. We've got good ones. With the Ford motor vehicle company, they pass it on from generation to generations. We've got Mitsubishi in Japan. It's a family business. From generation to generations, now it becomes a global business. It goes forever. But for a project, it's a short term. Every project is short term. It's got at the beginning and it's got an end. So these were issues that I discussed in my first lecture, learning outcome 1. Right. And for this evening's lecture, we're going to look at how to devise a structure for the management and administration of a project. We will try to define the roles and responsibilities of the project manager, and we'll try to prepare a detailed project plan, and we'll have in mind the type of assignment that we are required to do. Right. So let's look at the first slide that we're going to look at today. Right. When we look at project management, we need a structure. We need appropriate structure. Whether we use the traditional approach or the Prince 2 approach, we need a structure for us to be able to manage our project. Right. Now, in looking at the project structure, we first have to take into consideration the size of the project. The size of the project will determine the structure that we're going to use. How many line managers we're going to need, how many team managers we're going to need, all depend on the size of the project. And then we're going to look at the strategic importance of the project. That will also give us an idea about the type of project management structure we're going to use. We're going to look at the issue of novelty and the need for innovation. That will also impact on the nature of the management structure that we're going to use for our project. Again, the need for integration or number of departments involved. In the construction industry, for instance, if you have a project over there, we have a department for quality. So we have the quality department, we have the electrical department, we have quantity surveying department. We have those who are on the grounds. We have the groundsmen. So we have so many departments. We even got health and safety department for the same project. So the need for integration should be taken into consideration when we are looking at the project management structure. So that if there are more departments involved within the project, we're going to have a different structure. And then we're going to look at the environmental complexity of the project. How is it going to impact the environment? Whatever project that we're going to do, how is it going to impact the environment? That is also going to impact on the type of structure that we're going to use. And then, a very important thing is the budget and the time constraints. Budget in terms of resources that will go into the project will determine the structure that we're going to use. We're going to look at time constraints. If you want to finish early, then probably, if the time is short, you're going to involve so many people so that you can achieve your objectives on time. And then we will look at stability of resource requirement. How much resources we're going to use will also determine the project management structure. So in choosing an appropriate project management structure, it's quite difficult. You have to take all these issues into consideration before you decide on appropriate project management structure. Let's look at the second slide. It's about steps for selecting project organization if you want to organize it. In fact, in one way or the other, we have been doing a project organization on our own unconsciously, because everything that you want to do in life becomes a project. Even the level 6 course that you are doing is a project, because you're not going to do the level 6 course forever. It's got a time frame, so it's a project. It means that you need to define it, look at the scope, look at your resources that you're going to need to do this course, look at the time frame. So even the level 6 course that you are doing is a project. So there are so many things in life that are actually projects. If you look at it in the form of a project and we draw our plan, then we'll be able to achieve our aim on time. So there are steps for selecting project organization. Number one, you define the project with a statement of the objectives that identify the major outcomes desired. So you define the project with a statement. You know what you're going to achieve. So get a clear statement of what you want and what you want the outcome of the project to be. And then the next step is for you to determine the key task associated with each objective and locate the unit in the parent organization that serves as a functional home for this type of task. Let me explain that again. You determine key tasks associated with each objective. And if you look at the assignment that you're going to do here, there is an office, there is an organization in London. They have outgrown their office in London. London is so expensive, so they want to move out or relocate their office. That becomes a project. That is what we're going to do for the assignment. So if you take a relocation of an office as a project, then what are different tasks that are associated with the move? So number two, apart from defining the project statement, you need to determine the key tasks associated with each objective and locate the unit in the parent organization that serves as a functional home for this type of task. So if we take the assignment in particular, the organization has outgrown its business and they want to relocate from London, which is a very expensive place, to Banbury, somewhere in Oxford. So there are so many tasks involved here. Planning the move, getting boxes to pack all their belongings and move, hiring a removal company to carry the stuff out into Oxford. Apart from getting the removal company, you have to look for a new office in Oxford where you're going to relocate. So these are all different tasks involved that you can use to plan your project. So for every for a step for selecting the project organization, you need to determine all the tasks associated within the project. And then you arrange the key tasks by sequence and decompose them into work packages. And that means that with all the tasks involved, you're going to have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 in sequence. Right, so if it's a movement of office, then the first thing is to maybe plan why you want to move, make a business case, why we are wasting so much money in London when we can get cheap offices in Oxford. Look at the tasks involved in moving, looking for new accommodation in Oxford, taking care of the needs of all staff involved, and thinking whether some of the staff can work remotely from home or not. So these are all issues that need to be considered. So you need to determine the tasks associated with each objective and locate them within the parent organization that serves a functional home for the type of task. And then finally, arrange the key tasks by sequence. If you take the course you are doing now, level 6, as a project, there are tasks involved, there are sequences. You've done the first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit, but they all form, they all come into the total package of trying to get level 6 diploma. Right. So every project has got different tasks, and within these different tasks, we have sequence of things, the way things begin to happen. So we have the first sequence, second sequence, third sequence, fourth sequence. In fact, if you want to build a house, a house building is a project. So you maybe, if you don't have the land, the first task is to try and buy a plot of land. That's the sequence. And then you get building construction people to come and survey the area. That's the second sequence. And then you get the workmen in place, a third sequence. Then the construction begins. And then you finish it, and then probably you hand it over. So there are sequence of events that take place in every project. We'll look at that in details when we come to the assignment brief. Right. So steps for selecting a project organization: define the project statement, determine key tasks associated, and arrange the task in sequence. Arrange the task in sequence. Right. Let's continue with that. Apart from that, you determine which organizational units are required to carry out the work package and which unit will work particularly close with which others. Determine which organizational units are required to carry out the work package and which unit will work particularly close with each other. Let me explain that. Let me use the building construction. You determine which organizational units are required to carry out the whole construction. We have electrical engineers, we have carpenters, we have quantity surveyors, we have bricklayers, we have painters. I mean, they all come together, right? So we have different units that are required to carry out the work package, right? And then look at which units will work particularly close with each other. In fact, if the electricals or the plumbers, if they don't lay their pipes well, then the bricklayers cannot do their work. So you could see that those who will laying the plumbing work, they will work close together with the bricklayers. At the same time, the carpenters need to work together with the electricians. So there are some units that need to work particularly close with each other. So with each project, we need to determine the organizational units that are required to carry out the work packages, and then which units will work closely with each other. This is very, very, very important. And then the next step will list any special characteristics or assumptions associated with the project. And in the light of the above that I will discuss, and with full cognizance of the pros and cons associated with each structural form, we choose a structure. So if you feel that your business is a one-man business, maybe a corner shop, you don't need a very big organizational structure, because you, your wife, the husband, the wife, and children can run it. So maybe the wife will be the managing director, the man will be the project manager, and then the children will be salesmen. It's a small project, right? But if it's a very big project, you're going to choose a very different structure. You might end up having about 10 different line managers and about 20 team managers, each tasked with different aspects of the project, right? Let's go to the next slide.
You can't get out. Yeah.
So we're looking at a particular structure, the structure for the management and administration of a project. This is an example I'm showing. It's not what we're going to use, but you can look at that and then use it for the assignment. So let's say this is a typical structure of for the management and administration of a project. So we have the project manager on top. And then we have different line managers. We have one line manager for technology, another line manager for procurement, another line manager for IT. And then under each of them, we have team leaders. So if you look at the technology aspect, we've got a team leader for that. Procurement, we've got a team leader. IT, we have got a team leader. So we have different departments with different team leaders. Because the project manager is actually managing all. And as much as you are managing the project, you are also managing human beings with different team leaders. So this could be a typical structure for the management and administration of a project. This is an example. So when it comes to the assignment, think about it and look at how you formulate your own structure for the management of the move of the company from London to Oxford. So this is a typical structure for the management and administration of a project, which I have given. So this is just an example. So see how the assignment will fit into this when you are asked to devise a structure for the management of a project of moving an office from central London to Oxford. So this is an example I've just given. Good. Let's look at the next slide. Define the roles and responsibilities of the project manager. What does the project manager do? What does he or she do? The role. I've summarized them here. And now, every good project manager is managing a team and stakeholders. The team could be different line managers and different team leaders, and making sure that they work in the group, because the ultimate aim of the project is to achieve a particular aim. So if people don't work in the team, there is no way the project will succeed. So the first role of a project manager is to manage what? The team. Again, it's not a team only. There are so many stakeholders who are interested in the project, and they need to be managed as well. So maybe we are building a new hospital. With this new hospital, we have different people on the ground who are actually doing the project, with different line managers. But we have to take into consideration of the fact that nurses and clinicians are stakeholders, because they are interested in the hospital that we are building. At the same time, patients are also stakeholders, because they are going to buy from us. So for every project, the project manager's role is number one, to manage the team, and then make sure he can also manage all stakeholders involved in the project. Number two, a project manager is tasked in certain schedule. In fact, any project that does not run on schedule result in what? Huge loss. Because if you have a 5-year project constructing the road from maybe London to Manchester, that is a 5-year project, you need to schedule it in such a way that you can complete the project on time. In fact, recently, the new fast train that is going to go from London to Newcastle, HS2 or whatever they call it, even though they've not started, they are running behind schedule. And that means that they are going to incur huge costs, because it wasn't planned very well. So the actual money that was budgeted for it, because of the inflation, is going to go over and above it. So there's a need to certain very good schedule. So the project manager is required to set up what? A project schedule, and make sure that it runs according to schedule. Of course, if you're able to finish early, you don't have any problem. But if you go beyond the project schedule, then you have a problem. Right. And then every good project manager should be able to design a budget, a nice budget. Often, people who are bidding for projects are either going to undercut to be able to gain the contract. But any sensible project manager will know that if you undercut any bidding and you get it, you're going to end up in trouble because you've won the contract, but the amount of money involved is not going to be enough for you to complete the project. So every good project manager should be able to set a project budget with timings to make sure that the project will run on schedule, and then any money allocated to the project will be able to complete the project without any problem. And if it's a 5-year project, only 5 years is done, and they close the project. As I said, a project is not indefinite. It has got a beginning and an end. Right. So any good project manager should make sure that budgeting and timing skills is there, because it's their role to make sure that it's done. Apart from that, a project manager should be able to develop the project plan. The project plan. The project plan is very, 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 very important. And if you don't plan well, then you are planning to fail. If you don't plan well, then you are planning to fail. So one of the biggest role of every project manager is to develop the project plan. We'll look at sample project plan as we go ahead in the subsequent slide. Again, any effective project manager should be able to manage risk. There are so many project risks that comes about. I mentioned a few of them in the previous lecture, project creep. We'll look at others in our next lecture. But any sensible project manager should be able to manage project risk, either eliminate it or minimize any risk in the project. And it should be able to make sure there are interfaces with other projects. Right. Projects don't run in isolation. So look at other projects that will run together at the same time. Right. Let's look at the next slide. Let's look at the project plan. Project plan. Project plan. Project plan. Right. The content of a project plan, we have what is called value proposition. Value proposition. And what I mean by value proposition is to be able to make a business case for the project. Tell us why it is feasible. Tell us why we need to do this project, and come up with what? A statement proposing that you think this is the best thing that needs to be done. Project proposition. Right. You should be able to justify why the project is doable and why you think is the right thing to do. Right. For instance, an example that I gave in the previous lecture, within the proposition, let's say staff in the hospital setting are either going to have to, on the break time, waste half an hour, go outside the hospital, buy food on the street. That's one option. The second option is to make sure the hospital builds a canteen so that they can provide the best food for staff. Another project. The third project will be to outsource the food to any catering firm. So instead of wasting money to build a canteen, you outsource it. A catering company at lunchtime will drive their vans, bring the food to the hospital, and then the staff will buy it without any problem. They won't wash any dish, they finish eating, and then the catering company takes everything away. So these are three options. Number one, allow them to go outside to go and eat. Number two, build your own canteen. Number three, outsource it. So these are different projects that can work out to achieve the same objectives. So for a project plan, if you want to choose one of them, you have to come with a proposition that I think this is the best. maybe you decide that, okay, why do we have to waste money to build a canteen and employ staff? So our best bet, I propose that we outsource all the eating stuff to a catering company. They will prepare their own food at their own cost. They will bring it to the campus in the hospital. We will buy the food, and that's it. And that is going to be cost effective. So you're going to propose that this to your for you, that is the best business case. That is what is called value proposition. Then we have sponsorship. Somebody who will give the funding and make sure that different tasks are accomplished. And then we have accountability. Different departments will be accountable. Different people, individuals will be accountable for different aspects of the project. Then we've got project deliverables. Deliverables are timeline. What are going to be done in the first phase, second phase, third phase, fourth phase, and then resource allocation, and then how to design a timeline and a milestone or critical path. They are all the same thing. Right. So for every project plan, we have all these things embedded in the plan. So for every plan, come out with a proposition that this is what I think is the best. So let's look at the next slide. We'll try and look at an example of the plan and see how we understand it. So, I mean, every plan should contain what I've just listed here. Now, when we say value proposition, what does it mean? It refers to a statement that a company used to summarize why the project is value for money. And this statement convinces a potential consumer that one particular product or service will add more value or better solve a problem than other similar offerings. And here I've already explained that one to you with 3 projects: going to buy food outside, building a canteen, and then outsourcing it. So the value proposition should make a business case for the project. So value propositions should always make a business case for the project. Now let's look at the next slide. Sponsorship. Who is a sponsor? Is the individual, often the manager or executive, with overall accountability for the project. And remember, this sponsor is different from the project manager. Right. So the project sponsor is primarily concerned with ensuring that the project delivers the agreed business benefits. Right. A sponsor is responsible for providing resources, secure a budget, facilitate any change decisions, resolve issues, communicate with stakeholders, mentor the project manager. So their roles are different. Just understand that. They are different. Good. Now, let's look at an example of project deliverables. When we say project deliverables, this is an example that I have designed. Project deliverables. I designed this one in line with the assignment brief, because the assignment brief is saying that you are employed as an office manager in a company based in the center of London. The company provides consultancy services to business around the world, particularly in the area of management development. And all of the consultants work remotely from home. And the office functions with a team of 10 people, and it's purely administrative. That's the question. And the managing director has announced that the office will relocate to the area around Banbury in Oxfordshire in order to reduce cost. And she has asked you to lead a small team from the office and involve consultants to plan and execute this move. It means they want to move from London to Oxford. Right. And for this movement, you are going to be involved. So if you want to move office from London to Oxford, what are the issues that you have to look at? If you're going to move office from London, inner London, to Oxford, what are different tasks that will be involved? So if you take the assignment into consideration, a movement of office from London to Oxford, what are different tasks that are involved? And when are they going to be achieved? So, project deliverables, taking into consideration the assignment that you're going to do concerning moving an office. So you begin with the office move. Maybe beginning date is 1st of April 2019. And the same day is when you plan to move. And then the second phase is the initiation of the move. So you think about moving the office, you do the initiation, you go for a meeting, and you initiate that. I think it's a must. We must move from London. It is so expensive, and people are working remotely from across the world. So we need to move away from this big central London apartment as an office. What happens? The next phase is to sign the project charter that you have actually agreed to move. And dates are attached to that. Then you do actual planning of the move. The planning could take between 25th to 29th of April. And that is going to cost you about 3,000 doing the planning. Right. And then having planned to move to Oxford, Banbury and Oxford, you have to go there and view potential apartments, potential offices where you can relocate. So you have to move and view all the potential offices in Oxford. Because you want to save costs. You don't want to stay in London. Apart from that, if you decide to choose an office, the choice will be between 15th of May. And making the choice is going to cost about 2,500 with fees here and there. And then you sign the contract on the 16th of May. So by 17th, contract is signed. Maybe it's going to cost you about 1,500. And then after signing the contract, you arrange the movement. You plan when are you going to move from London to Oxford. Right? Arrange the move. And then manage the actual move. You plan the management is going to cost you 5,000. You get yourself some boxes, issue boxes, and you're going to pack all your belongings in, office equipment in here and there. Maybe that should cost you about £1,200. Pack up boxes. Get some people to help you pack all the boxes and put your stuff inside, about 600. And then pack up the boxes, about £1,000. So you can see that you've got different what? Different tasks that you are supposed to undertake. And they've all got different dates of beginning and ending. These are called project deliverables. Things that you want to make sure that you go through it so that finally you will have the chance to move from London to Oxfordshire. Right, so this is what is called project deliverables. It's just an example for you to look at. Project deliverable. So the final part of project deliverable will be the closure. And the closure will come in when you have moved all the things from London, you're now in Oxford, and you have completed the project. So in this case, the movement of office from London to Oxford becomes what? A project. So projects should not be seen as construction only. Anything that you want to do is a project. So if the task requires us to plan how the company is going to move office from inner London to Oxford, that becomes a project. And within that movement, there are so many tasks that we need to undertake with different dates and with different resources. Right, so in terms of project, we don't have to think of it as tangible things like building a road or building a house as project. No. Anything that we target that you want to do becomes a project because it's got a beginning and an end. Maybe you began this level 6 course 5 months ago. So it's going to finish anyway. You will finish the course and have your certificate. So once your certificate is awarded, that project of doing level 6 course is closed. So you start a project and end it. So if we look at the movement from London with the company to Oxfordshire, that becomes a project. And that means that we need a project manager, someone who will lead the movement of the office from London to Oxford. And therefore, there need to be project deliverables. So you give yourself a time. You start in the 1st of April, and then you want to continue maybe at the end of June. Give yourself deadlines for you to achieve all the name items on the left. This is what is called project deliverable. And every project must involve a sensible deliverable. Right. So you can link this one easily to the assignment. If you open the assignment brief, you can see that it's all about office goals. That is why I made this deliverable in line with what? The movement of office. Let's look at the next slide. Apart from the project deliverables, we've got something called project timeline. Project timeline. Project timeline. And in this timeline, I've used what is called the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart. Gantt chart. It's a graphic way of showing what you intend to do.
This is what it looks like.
Gantt chart is the graphical way of demonstrating what you want to do and how long you're going to do it. So if you look at what I've projected here, it's what is called Gantt chart. In other words, it's the same as what? The project timeline. So on top there is weeks. So in the blue line there is weeks. So we've got week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Because we are assuming that we're going to use 5 weeks to finish our project. If it's a road construction, it could be year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Because it's a road construction. It could also be months. 1 month, 2 months, maybe week 1 instead of week 1, it's going to be months. It's going to be January, February, March, April, May. So depending on how long the project is going to be, you design your own project timeline to suit it. If you find that the project is 1 week project, instead of weeks, it's going to be days. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Depending on how long you think your project is going to be. And then the vertical one on the left is the actual activities involved in the project. Right. So we initiate the project. It's 1 week. Week 1 in the red line. We do all the planning in the second week. And then we manage the actual movement from Oxford to, from London to Banbridge within 1 week. And then when we finish everything, we use the 4th and 5th week to close the project. And once you close the project, you hand over the project to whoever gave you the contract. So if it's a building we are building, as soon as we finish the construction, we close the project. And when you are closing the project, you make sure, if it's a construction project, for instance, any surplus material will be accounted for. Any surplus money given to you will be accounted for. So if you need to give account of the project, then any material that is unused at the time of project closure, you declare all and hand everything over. If it's a house that you built, hand over the keys of the building, everything. They'll come and inspect it. Everything is signed, paperwork signed. Then you hand over the project to the owner. That means the project is closed. We will look at procedures for project closure in our next lecture. So this project timeline tells you how the project is going to run. And as I said, I only use weeks here, but you can put months, days, or years, depending on how long your project will be. How long your project will be. So it will be easy for you to prepare your own detailed project plan by giving us a timeline as to when you're going to finish your project. In fact, if you don't put timeline on any project, it becomes difficult. For instance, if you want to do level 6 business or level 6 healthcare, and you don't put a timeline that I'm going to use 2 months to finish all our modules, your project will fail. If it doesn't fail, it's going to creep. Project creep. You intend to finish the course within 2 months, but you intend using 7 months to do it because you don't have a detailed project plan. So every project must got a project timeline, and the timeline must be adhered to strictly if you don't want to go over budget. So that is a detailed project timeline. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is work-based structure. Work-based structure. Work-based structure. It gives kind of details, a bit of details about what is going to be done. Again, I've got this from which is in line with the assignment we're going to do. Because the task is required us that we're going to move from London to Banbury in Oxfordshire. So this is a work break structure. That is, you've broken down the work so that it will be easier to manage. So on top is the office move, and that is our main project. We are moving office from from London, inner London, to Oxford, and we made our own business case because inner London is so expensive, the rent is so high, we are paying so much for the office that we need to move. So we made a business case. Now we want to move the office. What do? We need to initiate it, have a meetings about it, initiate it. What do we have to do? After that is the planning phase. When you plan, after planning, then you manage the actual movement of the office. And when you finish, you close it. So within the initiation phase, you initiate it, make a move. And then you can give the project to anybody to lead so that you sign the project charter. The charter gives you all the specification, what needs to be done as the project charter. And then after that, the next phase will be the planning. The planning, you could go to Oxford and view all potential offices over there. You're planning. And then you can choose any office in Oxford that you think is conducive and quite cheap compared to London. And then you can sign a contract when you are convinced that this is what we want to do. And then make all the arrangement for the move. Now, so all this is the planning phase of the project. All these are the planning phase. Then we come to the actual movement. That is the management phase. How do you manage the move? Now, in managing the move, the first aspect is to issue boxes. When we are all moving houses, we buy boxes here and there and move. And since the assignment is all about office move, issue boxes to us. The next phase will pack up all the boxes, which are computers and everything. Pack up boxes, pack up computers, and then we go and rent a removal company to move all the stuff that we have. And there are so many options. You can either hire a van and then do the movement yourself. But in that case, I'll put in there, we're going to move using a high firm. And then they do everything for us. They move all our office stuff, everything to a new apartment in Oxford, in Banbury in Oxford. It means that we have actually managed the project. And then the last phase, having managed it, if I was in charge of making sure the move takes place, I become the project manager for the move. So having done everything, I'll go to management and tell them, the job you gave to me is now complete. Can you please inspect it? You go to London and make sure that we didn't leave any rubbish there that will cost us. We've cleaned up the place nicely. And then we go to Oxfordshire, Banbury, and then see that the new office is clean. We put everything there. I hand over the task that was given to me. It's done. This is how much we plan spending. Maybe we spend less or more. If we spend less, please, is the remaining of the money, take it back. And then begin to learn lessons about the move. Was it that smooth? Were we struggling? were there any problems? So we learn lessons from the move. And then at the end of closure of every project, we celebrate. And I believe the day you have your final diploma from the healthcare management, you celebrate with your husband. That's the last bit of celebration. Right. So, yeah, so every project closure comes with celebration. Every project closure comes with celebration. So in actual fact, this is kind of a work-based structure that we need to understand so that we can design a work-based structure for our own project. The tax requires us to design our own work-based structure. So that is exactly what we're going to do. And you can duplicate this one in your assignment and look at different steps that you're going to take. Right? So I'm going to walk you through the assignment. I'm going to walk you through the assignment briefly. So the task is all about moving. It's all about moving. We're told that you are employed as an office manager in the company based in the center of London. And the company provides consultancy services to businesses around the world, particularly the area of management development. And all the consultants work remotely from home, and the office function with a team of only 10 people. So we've got only 10 people in the office. All the rest are working across the group. 10 people are in the office. And the MD has announced that the offices will be relocated to the areas around Banbury, Oxfordshire, in order to reduce what? Cost. Of course, we all know that London is quite expensive. And the manager has asked you, to lead a small team from the office. So take yourself as you being in the office, you'll be asked to lead and involve consultants to plan and execute the move. She wishes to retain the same size admin team. In her announcement, she has confirmed the current business objectives and the specific objectives associated with the move. These include, they want to continue to grow the business, increase their income by 10%. They want to enhance the profitability of the business. They want to retain the business earning capacity. They want to improve the quality of support the office provides to the consultants. They want to improve the IT systems. They want to minimize the human resource costs associated with it. Right. And the activity one, the managing director wishes to undertake the full implications of the office move and has asked you to prepare an initial report which considers the various aspects needed to deliver the move to the new premises. Right. Number one, appraise the business objectives listed above and identify the project which will be needed to successfully carry out the relocation. Appraise the business objectives. They want to make money, right? And the cost of the accommodation is so expensive. So one of the business objectives is to reduce cost. It's simply to reduce what? Cost. It's so expensive to rent the offices in London. So we are trying to appraise the business objectives. Why do you keep only 10 staff in the building in London and pay such a huge amount? So for us to be able to reduce our expenditure on office, we have to move. Now, considering your list of projects, develop the necessary project subdivisions and produce high-level estimates for resources needed to complete one of these projects, including time and cost. So here, you are coming to look at your project subdivisions. In actual fact, we've covered that in what we are doing this evening. Phase 1, you do this. Phase 2, you plan. Phase 3, you manage. Phase 4, you close it. So these are all different phases. So activity 1, covering 1.1 and 1.2 is so easy to complete. Right. to make life easier for you, I'm going to send a copy, a sample question. I found it quite helpful in the healthcare policy. So I'll email you individually a sample project management assignment, a template for you to look at it and look at the way it was approached. Of course, it wasn't on office move. It was on building a canteen for a hospital. So that will serve as a guide to be able to help you to see how you can tackle this assignment without any problem. Of course, we go to Learning Outcome 3 and Learning Outcome 4 next week, complete that. And by the time we finish Learning Outcome 3 and 4, you should be able to look at the assignment guide I give you, look at all the PowerPoint slides that we've developed, and then it will be easy for you to finish your assignment. So those of you who have not read Lecture 1, please play it, look at the slides, and then go over what we've done today, and then look at the template assignment brief, a sample assignment I've given you. The brief is on Moodle. So go to Moodle and then read it, look at the slides, look at the template I give you, and then see how you can initiate the assignment. So in this case, the assignment becomes what? A project. So initiate the assignment and then see how far you can go. If you have any problems, when I meet next week for Learning Outcome 3 and 4, then we can discuss it and we will know how to take it from there. Right. Any question up to this point? Right. So our time is up. Next week Friday, I will come on and finish Learning Outcome 3 and 4, and then I'll give you a few tips here and there on how to complete the assignment. So we'll leave it here and then continue next week.
Elvis, right. I'm actually moving offices at work at the moment, so shall I use that as my project?
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. It's in line with exactly the assignment brief. So
okay.
you can even champion your office and tell them I'm going to design a web-based structure for you, and you can follow it, and things are going to be easy for us. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.
All right, bye.